So welcome everyone to Transforming Assessment webinar series, and today we are pleased to welcome Associate Professor Hui-Chin from the let me just get it right, the Department of Applied Foreign Languages at the National Yunlin University of Science and Technology in Taiwan. And today we're going to hear about online question generation for reading comprehension. So I'll hand over to you now.
Welcome everybody. It's my great honor to be here today to share my research with everyone. And this is a very large study, and today I'm going to focus on the partial study. The topic is online question generation for reading comprehension. And I'll start with introduction and quick review of literature, method, result, and discussion. And if you have any question, you can raise your hand and I'll stop and address the question. And just give everyone a little bit background of the study, because I'm teaching in an ESL context. So most of ESL students, actually they are unprepared readers, but they still need to read academic textbooks because they need to learn like biology and chemistry in their subject area. So most of those textbooks are written in English, but they are unprepared. So they have difficulty in English reading. So we have been thinking about how to scaffold our ESL learner and what kind of scaffolding can be available online to help them and train their cognitive strategy to remedy their comprehension breakdown. And in the past, there are some characteristics about reading instruction in ESL context. Most of the teachers just give students comprehension tests after reading a text. And most of students, they just follow the teacher's instruction and answer teacher-generated questions. And teachers devote much time to test students' comprehension rather than teaching reading strategy in the past. So when teachers evaluate students' reading comprehension, they base students' performance from those tests. So we have been thinking about a possibility and alternative to address those problems and think about how are other possibilities that can help our learner to become active learners. So part of our large study, we want to focus on how to help students to self-generate those questions. And we have some. So self-generated questions can improve students' reading comprehension by engaging them in their comprehension enhancement from the case study. And so through question generation, teachers can monitor their learning process and tap into their difficulties. Once the teacher knows what kind of difficulty they have encountered through the reading comprehension, they are able to adjust their teaching in order to meet the students' needs. And but for both ESL students to generate questions, it might be still very difficult for them. So peer assessment or the quality of the question themselves are also very crucial because they can monitor their understanding of the text and they can help each other to revise and improve the quality of the text items. So peer assessment can foster the interactive conversation among themselves, and they can exchange information about how to generate quality questions for each other. So from the benefits of the review literature, this study aims to investigate students' reading improvement and what kind of process are involved in question generation process. So two research questions were raised to address this issue. The first question is, to what extent was students' reading comprehension improved after implementing online question generation. So for this question, we want to understand if students got improved after they go through the process of question generation. And the second question, we are interested in understanding the process involved in students' question generation process and how this process affects their reading comprehension. So this study intends to contribute to the literature because from this self-defined system, we are hoping that with the action log, we can understand students' reading comprehension process. Because in the past, for the most of the studies that address the outcome-based results, such as reading comprehension tests, instead of understanding what kind of process are involved in reading. So specifically, we don't understand how the student comprehend the material. So we are hoping that through the question generation, we are able to understand the process involved. And also this study, this is for those issues through the questionnaire and actual action in their learning. So we can understand what's actually involved in the comprehension and question generation process. And I'm going to talk about the method of this study. In this study, 19 students participate in this reading program, and they are volunteered to participate in this program without receiving any extra credit. And this program runs in the evening, and they volunteer to sign up for this free course in the university. And so they receive 11 weeks of English instruction. And after they have entered the program, okay, they have a pre-test and post-test before the class and after the class. So based on the GAN score, I try to classify those GAN score from pre-test and post-test or post-test. And so students were classified into two groups. One group with more progress and the other group with those with less progress. And later, one take from each group, the more progress group and less progress group, was selected to explore the experience, the process they underwent in the question generation process. And let's take a look at the instructional framework of this study. For the instructional framework of the current study, there are 3 modules. After the teacher uploads the reading text, students need to go through 3 modules. The first module is called Organization module. In this module, they can organize the vocabulary and they organize their personal vocabulary database. They check out dictionary, online dictionary, and organize them in the way they prefer. And they can check what they have learned, or they can mark those unlearned vocabulary. And they can mark the sentence that is the exemplary sentence from the text. And later they can write the main ideas of each paragraph. And later they can use the main idea from the previous stage to write a summary of the reading text. And after they have organized this sub-action here, okay, for the composing module, they can generate questions with different formats. For example, in the system, we provide them different kind of formats. For example, multiple choice, matching, short answer, true and false. So they can select test items, and they can select the type first and then write their test item in the composing module. And while they are doing the question generation, they can review the organization module. For example, they can review the previously organized vocabulary, sentence, main idea, summary in order to write their test items. So each module is connected with each other. After they have write their test items, they can view each other's test items. Okay, they can evaluate, they can comment on the quality of peer-generated questions, and they can respond and ask their peers to give comment and evaluate the quality of the question. And with the comment, they can come back and edit, revise their previous generated question. So this is the whole comprehension process. They need to organize, compose, and do peer assessment. So they can constantly reflect on the reading process, and they can identify which parts they have already known, and which part they don't know yet. And they can constantly review and revise those previously organized information, including vocabulary, sentence, summary, question items, and they can read and reread, and they can go through this process at their free will. And so this is the instructional framework of the whole project. And now let me show you a few snapshots of the computer system. So here is the place for teacher to upload the reading text, reading material, and student can enlarge the text here. Okay, and on the top, starting from vocabulary, they can organize vocabulary. So for this slide, it's for students to organize the vocabulary after they have read the text. They can add vocabulary, and they can write down the definition of that particular vocabulary. They can check, they can self-evaluate if they learned it or not, and they can include more details. For example, they can include synonyms, acronyms, and they can include the context of how the vocabulary is used. And this will be for the peer to evaluate the quality of the organization, because there might be some mistake for definition, or there might be some misuse of that vocabulary in the context. So the peers can give comment and evaluation for the vocabulary part too. And on the top, here is the dictionary function, the online dictionary function. We include the database for dictionary for students to look at the words. And we will try to make this bilingual. Now it's in Chinese. And also, if the student wants to add new vocabulary, they can press here to add each item. After they add vocabulary, here is the sentence. The sentence part, they can just copy those good sentence, explanatory sentence in the box here. They can self-check if they have memorized it or learned it. And so this is for the sentence part. And for the paragraph, they can write the main idea for each paragraph. PH stands for paragraph. So they learn to come up with a main idea for each paragraph, and they can edit, okay, and the peers can evaluate the quality or the quality of the main idea for each paragraph for peer review. And next step, they can write summary, okay, because they have organized the main idea for each paragraph, and they can click on the ideas there, and then come up with the summary of that particular reading. And they can edit the reading and evaluate each other's quality of the summary. And here we try to have the function of this engine so they can compare different versions of their summary writing to compare like previous version with the current version, and pretty much like check change function. Students can compare different versions. After they have done the previous task, they can generate questions from test item category, and so here does the staff member check any of the peer advice? The teacher will try to randomly check the quality of the evaluation, and we will model in class how to do the peer evaluation, because for most of the ESL students, they need training. So when I observe some of the problems, some of the difficulty in class, we would try to illustrate those good examples of peer review and bad example of peer review, so they can improve themselves along the way. And so here is the test item. Again, we will make it bilingual, and the test item format includes several possible formats like true and false and multiple choice. And when they generate question items, here's a quick reference they can click, and they can go back to those organized paragraph summary in order to reflect what kind of questions they want to include in this test item area. So they can go back and forth for those organized parts, and they can come up with the question item here. And here is for peer to give evaluation with the 5 stars. They can rate the peer's question quality on a scale of 1 to 5 stars. And let's take a closer look at this part for peer assessment. Okay, so they can provide, peer can provide message here. They can provide comments, and they can write. You can see actually this is pretty much like a forum. For this test item here, they are discussing the problem of this item, and some of the peers suggest how to make it grammatically correct, and what to add, and how to change. So they use both Chinese and English to help each other to improve the question item. Okay, so there are more interaction. Okay, so the question generated responses to peers' comments can be listed here. So they have interactive interaction among question generator and their peers. And this is the action log I mentioned previously. So for teacher, they can click trace results. And in the trace results, you can organize students' action in terms of those 3 modules. For example, organization module, you can see how many times students organize their sentence. And we can view the detailed content, like which students post a sentence. And so this documents every step they have taken online, and including the time. Okay, so there are some details. The system will automatically record the student's action, including reading and question generation. So after I introduce the major function of the system, let's come back to the study itself. For the procedure of data collection, this is a pre-test before the course starts. And during this 11 weeks of the class, students go through these 3 instructional modules, and in the end of the course we have a post-test, and we distribute questionnaire to those participants, and later we have focused interview with some particular students. And for these 3 modules, we can record those action logs in test results. So here for test result, for t-test. T-test is used to examine students' reading comprehension progress, and action log is used to explore how students generate questions, how they interact with each other, how many times they revise, organize, review those data, and how they take action to revise the question item. And for semi-structured interview, we can explore why students took some certain action, and we can get to know the reason why they can improve and the reason why they have some difficulty in question generation process or their reading comprehension breakdown. Okay, and now I will share with everyone about the results of this study. And so these are the previous stated 2 questions. For reading comprehension improvement, we can see from these 2 groups for the t-test, they made like a significant improvement from the t-test, on the pre-test and post-test. And this is for the group of multiple progress group. And for the last progress group, there's no significant difference, meaning that they didn't make much improvement. And later I will explain why and what actions are involved for these 2 different groups. And this it's the correlation between the action they have taken in the action log and the reading comprehension results. So the result report that the more progress group and the less progress group action taken in the online generation procedure had a positive relationship with their reading comprehension. In other words, the more action they have taken in the online generation process, the more progress they have made in reading comprehension. And this is the frequency in the 3 modules in the organization, composition, and peer assessment module for the more progress group and less progress group. So let's have a look at the figure. Compared to the last progress group, the more progress group demonstrate almost like twice frequency of those actions actually in each module. So they are more active in each of those modules, and these are those frequency of action. For organization module, okay, so these are the frequency count for these 2 groups. And so it was found that the more progress group took more effort in each module, and the more progress group was more actively engaged in the online question generation process than last progress group. So these are for those 3 modules, and later I'm going to present the sub-action under each module. And after I have organized those, I have count those frequencies in the action log, and I come up with a pattern of how the more progress group and the less progress group interact in the process of these 3 modules. This on the left column, this is the pattern of the more progress group. We can see that this group of students, they constantly go back to composition module, organization module, and it's more like interactive with 3 different modules. And for the last progress group, it's more linear. They have the tendency just to finish the task assigned by the teacher. So they are not actively reviewing the self-organized data and engage in this work. The question here is what will encourage students to engage in doing those? I think from my experience, I think modeling would encourage them because for the action log data, I can retrieve those good examples and those bad examples. And for students to learn, if they want to make improvements, they need to constantly review what they have learned before, and they need to be active learner. So in the process, I think modeling the process, modeling the action and the strategy itself helps students to improve their reading comprehension. It's a correlation. And this is the detailed action log. So we can see the students review the sentence and they post new questions. And student 1 added a sentence by changing this into this. So for researcher or for the teacher, if I want to look into one particular student's action, I can come back to the trace result and explore what the students have been through. And if they change A to B incorrectly, I would ask them, or I would model this, or ask them in class why they changed the A to B, and why is this correct or incorrect. So this is one example of the action log in reviewing and exiting the sentence. And these are the sub-actions because under organization model, when they are organized vocabulary, they have more action, like they can add, they can query the dictionary, edit their vocabulary, and they can add more context, synonym, acronym into more details. So here are those action frequencies. So I select one student from each group to demonstrate the difference. And so the major difference in organizing vocabulary was that Amy added more vocabulary, and she used a dictionary, added the vocabulary, and view more details of those actions. Let me look at the question. The question is, the question is if the rating system could be leveraged a bit to introduce incentives. Actually, we try to count the frequency and try to award those active learners by giving them a title like very tough question generator or very tough vocabulary organizer. We have been trying to think about this incentive. Yeah, like page. And the other question is, does this system encourage all students to do a lot? Or is it just effective for students who like this system? I think both, because they are required to do a lot in the system, starting from vocabulary, paragraph, summary, question generation. So they have instructional framework to follow, and they can do it on their own time. So actually, the in-class section only lasts for 2 hours, and it's not enough for ESL learner to get engaged in learning, particularly for reading. And for these students, they are non-English major. They are different from English major students. So these students, this system helps them to do self-study. I hope I have answered the question. I hope I didn't miss any question. Maybe we can come back to the question later if I miss any of your questions. Do students work together at all? Does it help if they do? They work. I think the part they work together is for peer review, because the system requires them to do the. Actually, the teacher they are required to do the review, to do the peer review after they have come up with the test item. So they need to review two peers, starting from the organization module, assessment module. They need to have a review and give comments. And from the test result, the teacher and the researcher can have the descriptive statistics about how much time they spend in peer review. So that's the part they work together. Students sit together at the computer and close the system. We allocate only some time in class to do this task in the computer, but when they go home they can do more. So sometimes they work together at home, and sometimes we assign like 20 minutes after their reading to do this task in class. And they only do peer review in a team, but for other functions they do it alone, because we see this more like a portfolio. They can always log in and then read the portfolio of the work they have organized. And this would be, the next slide would be the main idea and identification. So the following few slides are about the action taken by Amy and Sandy. And this is done individually. So this is not done as a team. Only the peer review, they need to look at, they need to review each other's vocabulary, item or sentence by peer review. And most of the tasks are done individually. And these are the comparison between Amy and Sandy, how many times they have reviewed vocabulary, sentence, and paragraph. And similarly, this is the action taken in question generation module. And when this is the frequency, when they generate questions, Amy tends to review the previously organized information more times than Sandy. So the major difference was noted here, like about 45 times, and Sandy only used the review information for 13 times. And in peer assessment, for peer assessment, Amy also engaged more actively in review peers' questions and give comment to each other and read peers' question items and respond to each other's items. Did the more progress group work better or for longer as a team in the peer review? For the more progress group, they are more active in like reading, give comment to each other, and for that progress group, another factor would be the language proficiency. Because if they are not good enough, they don't know how to give comment, they don't know how to revise their peers' question. So actually, the more progress groups, they work better and they also work longer in peer review. And for discussion, so the result tells us that there's a significant difference in students' reading comprehension after this experiment. And this is similar to previous studies, suggests that question generation can enhance the level of understanding of those reading materials. And in the for the research question 2, we can learn that in the organization module, the results show that more progress groups engage in a high frequency of editing their previously organized vocabulary. They constantly go back and to redo their vocabulary because sometimes they didn't have the correct definition of vocabulary, and they use there are so many definitions of one particular vocabulary, and they will come back and redo the vocabulary because they realize that the original definition doesn't fit with the reading text, so they will do so. They will correct the main ideas. So, in other words, the more progress groups would remedy their comprehension breakdown. So this finding imply that the more progress group was able to use more metacognitive skill to monitor this process by retrieving information, take remedial action to revise those previous organized vocabulary, sentence, main idea, and summary. And in the composition module, the more progress groups also have a higher frequency in reviewing those previously unorganized information to generate online questions. And in peer assessment module, as I mentioned, okay, they are also very actively engaged in this module. And this allows students to read their peers' questions, and they would actively answer each other's questions. And this encourages them to reread, because when they have doubts in each other's question quality or the nature of the question, they need to go back to the original text and read it again. So reading, rereading help them to re-examine their understanding, especially when they have a disagreement. So in fact, cognitive conflicts occur, and when this kind of situation happens, they learn more because they need to negotiate with each other and go back to the text and reconfirm their understanding. There, I think, improvement. Yes, in the beginning, I mentioned about GAN score. So these two groups are classified based on the GAN score after the experiment is finished. And so we have go over like Amy's example. She did a lot of action like add vocabulary in her vocabulary database. Added those vocabulary by adding synonym phrases to expand her vocabulary knowledge. So the improvement in her knowledge, in her vocabulary knowledge, might be a factor that leads to her progress in reading comprehension. So this echo with the previous study, the depth of vocabulary might be a key factor to improve students' reading comprehension. And let me come back to the question. Were those that end up in the more progress group already the better students to start with? Actually, in the beginning of the pre-test, it shows the homogeneous proficiency level in the pre-test. So after the experiment, it shows that actually the more progress group would be those who are more engaged in the action, in doing those tasks. And so in the beginning, the p-test showed that their proficiency level are quite homogeneous in the very beginning. And next, we talk about how Amy added those vocabulary sentences and main ideas. And so it implies that the students who make progress in the post-test usually monitor their comprehension and took more action to revise the information they previously organized. And these results also are quite similar to the previous study, indicating that when students continuously monitor, evaluate, and self-regulate their learning, their reading comprehension can be enhanced through the active engagement. And in the composition module, okay, we also learned that Amy make more progress than Sandy. And Amy's action log and interview data show that she not only reviewed those information, but also review the reading material to verify her understanding. And so in the literature, it also tells us that in order to enhance students' reading comprehension, they need to activate their prior knowledge, and they need to connect those knowledge, the previous knowledge, to the text, and engage. This will engage them in deeper processing of those reading material. And in peer assessment module, Amy demonstrated she was more engaged in giving comments and help each other to improve the text quality. So this finding suggests that peer assessment module plays a very important role to improve student reading comprehension. And Amy was much more active than Sandy in this case, and she provided comments and read and respond to peers' comments. And this result showed that students get greater understanding and retention of the reading text when they actively engage in peer review in the whole process. So in previous study, they also show that peer assessment in question generation process actually serves as a stimulus for students to revisit the text. And when they revisit the text, they evaluate their understanding and they compare their current understanding with prior understanding. So they verify if their understanding is appropriate or not, if their answers are correct or not. So the online question generation process engage them in evaluating their comprehension. And so pedagogical implication, it suggests that teachers could encourage students to generate questions from those tasks designed in these 3 modules, so students can get involved in the reading process. And when students assume the role of question designer instead of just question testers, they can engage in very high level of cognitive function. So to test each other's understanding and use their self-regulatory cognitive strategies to adapt to those reading tasks. And also question generation can be seen as both summative and formative assessment, because in the process it's much easier for the teacher to understand what kind of difficulty they have experienced in the reading process. And some of the limitations for this study, because the sample size is relatively small, so the findings obtained through the question generator system might not be assuredly generated to other contexts. So for further research, we will include more participants. And because for this study, when this study was conducted, it was at very initial stage of the system development. So we are improving the system. For example, we need to include the bilingual language in the system to be able to welcome more participants. And furthermore, further study could look into the relationship between these three modules and to look into the correlation of these three instructional modules. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you all for listening. And on the bottom, this is my email address. And if you have further questions, you can contact me. Or if you have questions now, we can discuss. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hui-Chin. That was very interesting, and I'm sure there'll be a number of other questions that people want to either type in, or please feel free to take the microphone as well. Remember, just click the little hand symbol so that we can hand the mic over to you. While people are either typing in or thinking up their questions, I might ask a question if that's okay. One of the things that struck me about the system itself is that you could actually change those titles on the top. I know this was used particularly for language development or for reading development, but of course you could actually use it for other disciplines as well, I would assume, and you could simply change the aspects that you're asking. Is that something that's been explored at your institution?
You mean on the top, like summary, vocabulary, those can be changed?
Yes, that's what I was thinking, just looking at the actual system itself.
Yeah, possible, yeah. Maybe we can make it like a couple of selections for the instructor to customize their teaching. That's a very good suggestion.
Just seems like a very good system that you have there, and people would obviously perhaps know about it in your institution. And this whole idea of getting students to be actually to generate questions and then to peer review them and to rank them, which Mathew had pointed out earlier, is similar. The idea is very similar to another system that we had a webinar on previously called Peerwise from our New Zealand colleagues. But this whole concept of trying to find a way to get students to generate questions, peer review them, and then basically rank them or give them badges, and then look at what feedback could be given from that as well, is a really good way of actually engaging students, because in the end that's a lot of what this is about, is trying to find ways to engage students in the process.
Right, exactly, because the nature of the text itself just turns those passive learners into active learners.
Yes, that's right. Now, are there specific questions people would like to ask?
I wonder if I missed any of the questions in the test chat, because I tried to answer them, but I'm not sure if I've missed any question.
Just to remind everyone too that you can detach the chat box, so you can actually just lift it up and move it, and that way you can actually expand it, because obviously if there's a lot of chat going on, it's sometimes difficult to read as you go through. And also, sorry, just to remind you, Matthew's just put up the link to the feedback form, So if you wouldn't mind filling that out before you head off, because we know some people might have to head off soon. So it just helps us to be able to improve our series, if you give us some feedback. So questions from people. Yes, Meg, would you like to just click the talk button?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you felt that you could predict the sorts of students who were going to interact and be engaged and ask the questions in the early stages of the period.
It's a question about if the student can ask questions, ask online questions earlier instead of composing those, not composing, organizing those information. Is that the question?
No, it was more about whether the students who are making more progress, whether if you met that class of students as a teacher, would you look around after the first session and would you be able to predict who the students are who are going to be more engaged and be more active?
At the initial stage, I was not able to predict that because their proficiency level are quite homogeneous. As the semester goes along, from the case results, from the action log, I'm able to predict that the improvement because I can view the action log from different groups of students, and you can know how some of them are very active and how some of them just intend to finish the task without reviewing, without peer review.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Okay, any other? Oh, Meg, do you want to take the mic again? Perhaps I might just ask a question then. Was there a system that was used or a process that was used before this current one? So is there a comparison between what was done before and what was done now in terms of this generation of questions and then peer review? Or was this just the only system that was put in place and there was no precursor to it?
Yeah, that's the first. This is the first time they use the system, and so I just used the pre-test and post-test to measure their progress. Is that the question? Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Hui-Chin. That was good. Okay, looks like we've got a couple of people typing in things, so we'll just wait for those to appear. Yes. Okay, yes, Lorraine's just making a comment about across campuses as well, yes. Any other questions or comments from people? Okay, Meg's just put a question in there. I wonder if you might have a look at that.
Oh, for the peer review, I assigned them to review those peers randomly. And this is a good suggestion that maybe those small progress groups and that progress group can be paired up together so they can have interaction. So that's for like further study or longitudinal study. And for my study, we only run for 1 semester, and so the follow-up study can compare the difference between the pair of strategies.
Okay, Hui-Chen, we might say thank you very much for your presentation and for introducing us to this system, and also for reinforcing, I think, certainly this concept of actively engaging students in a process, because we certainly need to have a number of different ways in which we actively encourage our students to participate, because I think I've seen, or most of you would have seen in the literature, time on task is one of the messages that keeps coming back over and over again. And we certainly need to find ways to encourage our students to actively engage. So thank you very much for this presentation. Thank you for sharing your research and the outcomes with us. We really appreciate that.
Thank you all. It's such a great honor to share my research result with you. We can keep in touch. Absolutely.
So thank you very much, everyone, for participating today, and don't forget to look at our Transforming Assessment website for the next lot of webinars, which will be up and coming soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.